and you've got to start early the next day. So we might just get a wriggle on, hey? So welcome to the August 2023 AEVA Queensland branch meeting. I think there's no new people here, so we'll just get right into it. Unfortunately, Nathan's not here tonight with the Ford E-Transit because he had a big day at Francisco's workshop pulling a leaf apart for his project car. So unfortunately, he's not coming. But tonight we're going to go through the normal stuff. I'm going to have a quick run through some of the figures and stuff to do with the Kona that I've sort of noticed over 4 years. Francisco's brought in the battery. Most people have already seen that. And Graham's here with the minivan with the earth food stuff. So are you talking about earth food stuff tonight, or is it more about the van? Give it a quick plug. And then tea and coffee. All right, so let's get into it. Not as much EV infrastructure stuff as last month because, you know, there was 1,000 chargers opened in the last 2 months. But the free chargers, St. Lucia is online and running at 100%. And the 2 Kelvin Grove ones are offline. I don't know if you guys know that one, but the one at the library is now offline. I don't know if you've noticed this, but on my phone you can actually look into a lot of the check-ins. Not that you guys probably need to, but I look into. But if you're just on the website, it only shows you like the last 20. So I noticed that just out of interest, in the last 14 days, well, excluding yesterday when I wrote the presentation, 242 check-ins at Gardens Point in a fortnight, and that's check-ins. So that's not everyone that's using it, because some people will just turn up, but it's probably a pretty good etiquette of people doing it there because it's like 90% Uber drivers or something. So
Actually, having tried to charge her a few times, a lot of people are pulled up, there's been a Tesla in there. Somehow it's always a Tesla.
well, that's because 75% of the ownership's Tesla, mate.
Exactly. But I said, oh yeah, you know, how long are you going to be roughly? And they said, oh yeah, I'll put it on the check-in. I said, sorry, but I was just driving up and I popped by. But most of them are partners.
Yes, exactly.
They go there, or
Definitely.
the option is they go after 4:30 p.m. to King George Square.
Yep.
Park there for 4 or 5 hours,
Yeah.
$5
Yeah. There's something to be said that free charging is a bit of a disservice, but depends how much you use it, I guess, what your opinion is on that. So we'll see how long the St. Lucia one stays up on at full speed. I think this other one's been quite reliable considering how much it's been getting used, and it's been limited, so probably should be limited as well. I think it was limited before, so I don't know why they're not. They've just released it back to 100%, like the 50 kilowatts. So next one, thanks Les. I mentioned this last month, the ChargeFox chargers are nearly ready to go underneath the Castledine shops. Nothing really new to say in that space, but there's just an updated photo that they're nearly there. I think I missed this one last month, but this opened in early July at Springwood, a dual CCS, so it should actually say 4 CCSs, so that's just at the Arndale Shopping Centre at Springwood. So Springwood's got quite a good charging setup. If you can't use those ones, you can pop down to IKEA or vice versa. And Rochdale has got the supercharger, so quite a few, they must be seeing that there's a lot of traffic in that area, because that's how they model where the chargers go. They see what is the highest sort of traffic area and access points. So out at Beaudesert, we had David in the white shirt there come and speak to us about it within the last year, and his company EV Charging Australia has opened this Synexcel charger, which is the first time I've seen this charger out at Bow Desert. Aaron on the end there, as well as the chair for the Toka Queensland group, and he does, he's the Regen EV guy, and he did the install. This is normally 80 on both plugs and a 22 kilowatt on the middle, but this is just attached to a tyre shop, so it doesn't put out that volume at the moment. So don't be surprised if you don't see the full speed, according to Aaron. But nice to have an option out at Bowie, which is not near the rest of civilization.
It's not a plug share.
Yeah, it's new. But it's on ChargeFox app, so. Mate, I give you the latest and greatest information, right, before it's on PlugShare, right?
Oh.
Not always, but. Yeah, here's just a quick, so there's an example of this charger itself going 3 cars at once. So I think is that a Renault Zoe in the middle with 22 kilowatt AC? So probably a bit unrealistic to ever see a Zoe around charging on that, but get the idea. The Bayside getting some more love. Just in time for our EV show. Hurry up, EV. EV networks, hurry up. All right, they're putting another 2 chargers in there. Didn't know about that one, mate. Oh. I think that's where we have the show, just there. I think that's the showgrounds. So not far away. That'll be pretty handy. But finally, the Bayside will be able to say they have more chargers than Kingaroy. Sorry, I can't help myself sometimes. All right, Goodna still not opened, but apparently it's going to be 4 CCSs on that one for the BP. Julia Creek. All right, this is so I've put a bit of a comedy show into this set of slides tonight. Like I said, I can't help myself. Now, I said, this is the slide from last month, and I said, no check-ins, all right? So, and but I did notice that this is actually like pull up with the trailer, which is different orientation to a lot of the other sites, right? So this month, when I came to check Julia Creek, there's a check-in, which is the next slide, all right? Now, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. This is not Julia Creek. This is the next one over, because Julia Creek is station 4377 and this is 4399. Someone's just clicked on the wrong thing on PlugShare and signed in. So we're still at 0 check-ins for Julia Creek, and I'll keep you updated on that. I'm sure you're really into it, but well, look, I have a weird sense of humour, you know that. But I mean, like, we're talking hundreds of kilometres apart, right? It's not like it's nearby. It's like me signing in, charging here and signing in at Maroochydore, you know what I mean? Like, it's miles. Cunnamulla. There we go. That's all I need to say about that one. It's in the black plastic, that we've seen that before. Hopefully it doesn't take as long as ESC. Yep. So yeah, there's Julia Creek, and that's Cloncurry, where the guys should have signed in. So that's Cunnamulla down here. So nothing too, not too much movement in this space. So next go. Righto. There haven't been any changes in prices. You guys have seen this for quite some time now, so I don't need to go through too much. It's just a comparison, mate. Yes, hydrogen. It's been up there for months. So, but I tell you what, look, diesel and hydrogen is pretty similar price, to be honest. So, All right, EV events. I'll quickly run through this. This month if you want to go through to the Mount Tamborine Car Show, you can. I'm sure you're all capable of looking that up. I will attempt to do an EV catch-up in early September, but obviously there's a fair bit of planning involved with the Cleveland show and a hall meeting, so I'll give you a date on that. On the 16th of September, the Toka guys are doing a run to Byron Bay. If you want more information, let me know and I can give you the details. After the weekend after our show, we need a couple of cars for the Caboolture Library. If you're able to help out, let me know, because they only want like a handful of cars, 8 cars or something, and there's already like 3 or 4 of us going, so if you're able to help me out with that, that'd be good. The AEVA national event in Perth is on the 2nd and 3rd of November. And there's a Toka boot camp for Model 3, Model Y, and they are going to hire this hall. So I believe, it doesn't say that yet, but they have asked me for the contact details for the hall, and that'll be on the 19th of November. Gavin.
Long way through the end.
All right, general EV news. I found this slide a little by accident. I thought they'd actually stopped making the publications from, this is a Queensland government stats numbers for Queensland. So just a few bits and pieces. It shows you the amount of electric vehicles per suburb in the first column. Then the most popular fast charging Quesh stations. So you can see number 1 is the Hamilton site, and yeah, we just mentioned before, you know, a lot of apartment owners going out there, and it's got the 2 chargers as well, so it does get a lot of use. Tailpipe emissions saved and kilometres charged. So if we just go to the next one, I think I'll just do a few bits and pieces. I'm not going to kill you with numbers, but the previous report in January 2023 and the April 2023 numbers, so there was, what have I got here, 14,020, oh yep, so at Hamilton, in 3 months, there were 2,077 sessions. So how I mentioned the sign-ins for in 14 days for the Gardens Point one, well, they're obviously checking the sessions now. According to my math, they're doing 13 kilowatt hours per session. So whether that's short Uber charges or whether people are probably putting in more like 25 kilowatt hours, and then there's also a couple of failed sessions, and you know, it's kind of balancing out to 13. I'm not too sure on that, but 13 seems like a low number. Can you speak to that at all about?
They normally don't count it if it's under.
If it's, is it? Okay. Yeah, okay, all right. Well, 13 kilowatt hours doesn't seem real high though, does it? Considering there's a lot of batteries that are 40, 50, 60 kilowatt hours, so.
Yeah, when I used to visit it, I used to put in maybe 4 because I didn't care. I just put in enough to get home. So
4 kilowatt hours.
that's about it. That's all I needed.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's kind of in between the city and the airport. I just wonder if it is like, you look at the check-ins, if it is a lot of Uber drivers. It's hard to tell. I'm not going to speculate too much, but it just seemed a bit odd that it's only 13 kilowatt hours. I'd like to see, I probably should have done the numbers on some of the further out from the city ones. Maybe they're higher session kilowatt hours.
All others, they are April. If I take the 940
Yep.
by 48,000 is 19.3 kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
So that seems a bit more right.
Yeah, okay. There we go. Once again, this time April 2022 compared to the model breakdown of April 2023, and I think we've mentioned before that the high volume of Model 3 and Model Y, that's 60% now. ADO 3. So ADO 3's, I think these numbers, yeah, actually that would include the beginning of the year when the numbers, so 67% is 3 models. I did think it was 75, but you can see like even last year, 1% was Taycan, you know, like that's surprising considering how much those cars cost. But yeah, this kind of reflects to me that there's more models coming online, and you know, it's pushing back against the Tesla ownership a little bit, but still they're vastly outnumbering all the other EV makers. So just another little graph. So here's April 2021, April 2022, and it's roughly doubling each year, which is good to see. And if we're at 21,000 registrations, then yeah, it's pretty indicative of what you see on the road, really. Like in 2019 you didn't see anything, and now you can't not see EVs. So it's pretty obvious. All right, just for fun, like I said, tonight's a comedy show, all right? So someone's taken the Cybertruck and put a wrap of an F-150 Lightning on the outside. No? Yeah, I thought it'd get more of a response than that. Okay, sorry, mate.
They didn't do the arches very well.
You're a tough crowd, you guys. All right, what's next? All right, guest speaker, me. Right, okay, so I'm breaking down 4 years of ownership just into some thoughts and stats. So
Is that meant to be there? Because the next slide says generally being used again.
I'll just skip it.
Put them in the wrong order.
Have I? No, that's all right, just skip it.
Skip it? Okay.
I'll cut it out.
Yeah.
Oh, general EV news, yeah. I just didn't change the header, that's all right.
Okay.
Right, so my user case for owning an EV is that I'm a shift worker. I work 2 days a week, and then I do 2 night shifts, and then I have a sleep day and 3 days off. So all of these ticks on here represent the opportunities for me to charge during the day. Now, a lot of people work Monday to Friday, they don't have that same opportunity. So I just thought I'd point that out, that for me it works because I'm a shift worker, and I've decided to charge at home from my excess solar as much as possible and not from the grid. So there's some numbers coming up to show you that. My daily drive to work's 32 kilometres, so round trip 65. Yep, that's that slide. So, okay, so after 4 years, this is off my Zappy charger. So I pretty much got my my car around here. I think maybe someone came over with an EV and charged on my Zappy charger before I did, but you get the point. Total amount of hours put in is 6.1 megawatt hours, so that's 4 years worth and you know, 5,800 kilowatt hours from the portion of solar that's going back to the grid. Instead of going back to the grid, it's going into my car. So no feed-in tariff obviously on that, but I've never really had excessive electricity bills, and in the first year before they've done all the stuff they've done lately, I didn't have any electricity bill either. So yeah, I roughly get, so I went on, this is from June, I went on holidays, and that's what it looks like. Here's the baseline of my house, so fridges and other things, fridge freezers and other bits and pieces. The line where it goes up and shelf, that's my pool pump coming on during the solar hours. But this is kind of the worst setting because it's like the middle of winter, or close to the winter. And then you can see what happens when the Zappy, or my car's just plugged in, the Zappy just manages it itself, so it's just putting in that portion there into the car. So that's what I'm saying, just the excess amount of solar that would normally be going back to the grid is going into the car. So that's how I've managed it for 4 years, basically. Just the efficiency of the Kona is, it's probably been mentioned a few times by me before that the Kona is quite efficient. However, I have had they did a worldwide recall, and I did do the battery replacement about 11,000 kilometres ago this was the screen stats showing when I got the battery replaced, which is just a few kilometres underneath 56,000. So at that time, these are I don't reset this. The only time I've ever reset this is when I took my car in to get its battery replacement, and these are my numbers since the battery replacement. But you can see over 56,000 Ks I got 12.3 kilowatt hours per 100, and since then 11.4. It's just probably that I haven't done, I did a long trip to Sydney, so it smashed my consumption. The first 6 months I was just going all over the place getting an EV. It was just driving for free. It was weird to not have to pay for fuel and just go, and a lot of the charges were free, so you could just drive for a couple hundred Ks and charge for free and come home and it hadn't cost you anything. So simple economics, when something's free you probably tend to use it more. So those two numbers combined, my lifetime for the car is actually 12.14 kilowatt hours per 100, which is pretty good. That gives roughly, based on the usable size of my battery, 520 to 530k range. And I've done, the furthest I've driven is 571, and I've done that twice. And the longer trips that I've done are to Sydney, Byron, Warwick, Toowoomba, Gayndah, Bunya and Bunya Mountains. So yeah, so not just hanging around town, going on a few longer drives as well. Now, what have we got here? There's one thing for your car to tell you what efficiency it thinks it's getting. The other thing is to measure how much you're putting in. And when we did the drive that we went out to Kenilworth, when it came back to the charger, it was showing that what was on the display versus what went in at the charger was about 2 kilowatt hours per 100 difference. So just to work out the total consumption of the car, essentially I've taken what the car is showing in efficiency and adding 2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, and then working out how much home charging. So just from home charging I've managed to do just under 44,000 kilometres just from charging at home. And DC fast charging therefore was 3,161 kilowatt hours. I went through my ChargeFox and my EV app. They actually have your past charging schedule. Now, they're pretty much, other than say BP where I went and tested for $10, they're pretty much the only places where I've paid for the charging. So in the 4 years, I've only actually spent $314 in total on charging my car. Now, because I was doing YouTube videos as well, I was driving down to the bottom and then charging to the top on at least 2 occasions, and those 2 occasions cost me $60 of that $314. So if I was a regular owner, I probably would have spent under $200 on charging instead of, you know, showing off on YouTube. So I think that's pretty good, but I did benefit a lot from free charges, like going to Sydney cost $0. The Eureka charges, the Quesh was $0 when it first came out for a while. QUT one's $0, Ampol were free when it first came out, and Warwick's free, so I have benefited from that. So it's perhaps a little bit skewed towards early ownership, but still impressive, I think, that when I went to Conondale a fortnight ago and I filled up my wife's car and 2 jerry cans of diesel and it was $250, you know, like it's just sort of one fill up and you're nearly there. So pretty crazy, really. 4 years. Imagine not paying for fuel for 4 years. Crazy. All right, problems that I've had with the car, not many, and I'm being very sort of specific, but the cruise control toggle switch just broken. Yes, it broke. It wouldn't go up or down or one of them, so they just fixed that when I got it serviced. A few of you know that when I've been displaying my car, the battery has started to, the 12-volt battery started to degrade, and at the end of car shows I'd have to get jump starts because just having the bonnet open or the boot open, it was draining the battery just enough to, when you hop back in the car, not to be able to start the car. So that was quite annoying. But surprisingly, I could just get a jump and then the car would start and I could drive it for the next few months, and I didn't have any problems with the 12-volt. Then I'd get to the next car show and I'd spend all day there, and then I'd have to jump, and I didn't learn my lesson very quickly. So yeah, after the Victoria Park one, I cleaned up and everyone else, and I was talking away, and then I jumped in the car and it didn't bloody start, and that was the end of it. I just called RSEQ and they came out and swapped the battery. And that was that. I probably should have done it earlier, but you know, and I had to screw in my tyre. So not much really going wrong.
Do you have a utility running or something on yours?
It's not something I've looked for, but the thing is, when I got the battery replaced, I did a pretty big software update, I think, and I noticed that on the front here, there's a light in the Hyundai symbol, and it shows you when the 12 volts getting charged. Now, where I park at home, where I sit on the PC, my car's sort of parked just outside there, and it's glass doors, so I can just see when that light's on. It's on far more significantly now than it was before that update, so it's like on every second day. So I figured it's looking after it all right now. My service costs, I've only had 3 services done. I'm due for the next one, but they're $169, which is cheap. You get a year of roadside assistance involved in that, and I wasn't paying, or I still pay for my other family cars $100 a year for that. So it kind of gets down to 69 pretty quickly. However, one of them I needed my wipers replaced and they charged me $8 for that, so okay, can't really complain, I guess. But they're doing a software update, they're washing the car, they're, I guess, checking some stuff, but there's not that much involved, so maybe $70 is pretty good. The depreciation, maybe this factors, I'll put this on because maybe this factors in for some people. Some people just buy a car and drive it and then sell it and they're not that worried, but I looked on car sales and there were 4 2019 Konas in the Highlander, and that was in Australia, so there's not many. I don't know why there's not that many available, but they were all 45 to 50. So I've said the because they're still for sale, you know, maybe the price is more like 40 to 45 roughly, which means that it's depreciated about 40% over 4 years, which is still pretty good. I think we've come out of the false economy of car values now, so they've probably normalised compared to the prices that we were seeing a year or two ago. And an interesting thing is the new MG 64 kilowatt hour, the MG4 64 kilowatt hour, with the rebate would be 45,000 now. Would I choose the Kona over that car? I think it's a bit of a toss-up. I do like the Kona, and I think the range might be slightly higher with the Kona, so I haven't had a go of the MG yet, but I do like its styling. It looks pretty nice, but
I think it's a
lot
lot thirstier.
thirstier, yeah. Well, Francisco's MG was around 17 kilowatt hours per 100, and it's really a similar size to the Kona, isn't it?
That one, if you drive it normally, I get about maybe a little bit under 12 or 12.2. And when we're carrying the BYD, I got the Mark II as a rental car, and I could never get it to go below 18. I have no idea why.
But when we did that Kenilworth run, you were getting 17 and 18 out of the MG and the BYD. Yeah, but I was getting like 13. So.
Yeah, I'm talking about the difference between the new MG and the old MG.
Oh, the new one.
So the new MG, for some reason, uses a lot more energy.
The new one uses a lot more, does it? Oh, okay. Something they've done inside the motor, or I wonder.
I don't know if it's the motor or maybe the air conditioner, because the air conditioner has got climate control, and I think sometimes it turns the heater on.
Okay.
And you can't actually turn it off.
The one thing I do notice is that my car gets significantly better economy than someone who owns the same car in Victoria, because the second you're putting the heater on, the consumption goes through the roof. And I think that's probably the same in any car, petrol, diesel, electric. But I guess if I'm not using the heater that often, then perhaps some of my numbers tend to be inflated because I'm not using it that much.
Do you notice heavy rain on the highway?
Look, I've had other Kona owners tell me where they've experienced strong headwinds hitting their efficiency quite hard. I honestly can't say that driving in heavy rain has caused anything noticeable, but it definitely does, because you're essentially getting more friction in your drive. Really? Yeah. Yeah. The thing I notice, I don't know if you guys really look at your numbers that closely, but I find that when I go on a trip, my numbers are higher, but as soon as I start slowing down at the end of the trip, it was saying 15 kilowatt hours per 100, and then it goes down to 12 because I've slowed down and got that regen at the end. So yeah, I guess if you're monitoring the instantaneous, maybe it's a thing. So is that the last slide, Les? This is general EV news still. So Francisco is going. Yes, mate, go for it.
Just a question with that 12-volt battery. So the 12-volt starting battery turns on the high voltage relay as a traction battery. Is that charged while you're driving by the traction battery?
I don't know while you're driving. It certainly does it when you're not driving.
It certainly does while you're driving.
I don't know the electronics of charging the 12-volt.
It's got a DC converter in an electric car.
Yeah, DC. So it recharges your 12-volt from the main traction.
Yeah.
Like an alternator.
So what, the only time it's off is when it's not charging, is when it's sitting in your driveway not charging, I guess. That's it. So it's always charging when you're driving?
Yeah.
Okay, and then occasionally it turns on to top up the 12-volt so you can turn your car on, I guess. So.
As you say, it turns into DC as well, though, because if we got a software update, it's showing it's charging it more. It depends as soon as you turn the car on, and the traction pack's enabled and you start driving, that DC to DC is doing putting 14 volts all the way onto the 12 volt network, so it's charging. But if you're parked around and you're just in accessories mode, it is not charging, which is where we run into problems. There is a utility mode, like there's an option in the settings, you go utility mode, which tells the car turn on the DC to DC converter, so then it's just supplying the car with it.
We'll have to look at for mine after the meeting, eh?
It's the software, like downloading the firmware updates for the car, shows that the Kona is the same as my dad's got.
Yeah.
And I just downloaded basically the same set of images from Dewey's car as well.
I mean, I probably should know after 4 years if it has it or not, but I've never really used that, I just, if I'm charging, I just have my car turned on. Like, yeah. All right for the Ioniq 5 if you've got like... What, so when are you using utility mode?
Once or twice when doing things like using the vehicle to load adapter as well.
Yeah.
I put it in there because the rest of the case sometimes leaves stuff so it's on.
Okay.
I just put it in there, but I've never had a problem with 12. Hang on. No, I need to
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not joking. I think that's how we jumped at one thing. I think I got an Ioniq 5 to jump me somehow. Because if you have the charger with you and just plug in the terminals and just run it to the output of the Ioniq 5 or EV6 or whatever, it's good.
For I think it was like $100, a little USB batteries
Yeah.
that have the jumper leads on them, which is another.
Yes.
EVs, because you don't need to actually.
Well, I don't have a problem now because I've had my battery replaced. Yeah. Now, I've done a show since and I didn't have a problem, so it was good. That was Noosa EV Expo, it was fine. It's always nervous though after you've had like 5 shows where it's been a problem. But Francisco, you're up, mate.
Everyone willing to be broken down.
Lots of, Right, Francisco is going to have a quick chat to us about what we're doing with... You're well prepared again, aren't you?
Yeah.
I've just put the next slide on, mate. There we go. Oh, that's for the recording, but far away.
So there's a few Outlanders that are having dead batteries, and we've managed to get some replacement cells. The replacement cells are a little bit smaller in actual physical size, but they have higher capacity than what the original cells had. So we've made a spacer to hold them, and as you can see in here, we try to make them fit into the original pack so that it's more or less a direct replacement that doesn't require too much modification on anything. So this is one brick that we've tried to do and see how it turns out. So now that we are confident that this is going to work, we're probably going to try to replace one pack and see how it goes. We will probably need a bit of electronics done to the car so that the car knows that it's got more capacity, a bit like what we did for the MiEV. So that's in process at the moment. So hopefully we'll have a replacement for Outlanders.
Well, Malcolm Betts, one of the guys who's an AEVA member, we got his car, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we've been able to get this stuff organised because we have the actual Outlander to muck around with. But what will the total capacity be? So we're going from 40 amp hour cells to
62. So it's about 50% extra capacity.
Okay.
I think
and they had a 16 kilowatt hour with 12 usable, so
it's probably going to end up about something like that.
24 with 20 usable or something.
I think it's going to end up about 18. But have to wait and have to see how they go, because I think the problem with the Outlanders is people are trying to use them as EVs and they're cycling the batteries too much, and that's why they're dying. So the new cells have got, when you work out the C rating, it still is capable of supplying the same amount of current, but unfortunately they're being driven really hard, and I'm not very sure how long they're going to last. They might not last as much as they should, mainly because they're being driven just too hard. It's like some people might be able to do, realistically be able to do 2 cycles a day, and that's not obviously not gonna let the battery last a lot.
Okay. Any questions about it?
Yep.
Yeah, it was a noisy diesel train. So I didn't hear the initial introduction. So that's Mitsubishi Outlander fed battery pack, or one that's been modified?
This one's been modified. So this has got the new cells. So obviously the cells are smaller than the originals, but
So the casing is the original.
the casing is the original. So I've made some spacers to make the cells that are now smaller in size fit where the originals ones used to fit. But these cells that are smaller have about 50% more capacity than the originals.
Perhaps you want to discuss what had to be done to the new cells to get them to fit in the pack.
Well, I had to make a spacer on the bottom, which is basically something that has got the shape of the original cell with a cutout that has got the shape of the new cells. So that keeps the cell in the same physical position as the original, and the same thing on the top. So that way, if you go like that, the cells don't fall through, and it doesn't put any force on the terminals, and everything should be more or less held as it was originally.
Yep, I was helping a little bit with some of the research into this early, and we were thinking about a different orientation where we could have 90 amp hour cells, but Francisco decided that there needed to be a bit more airflow, but there is a bit of space in there.
It's possible to put cells in the other orientation, but it's a lot more work, because then I would have to remake the cradle, we have to remake the bus bars, this wire harness would have to be remade because everything goes into a different orientation. And also, if I remake the cradle, then I would also have to make the bit that holds this onto the battery pack, because the current design has got a duct that blows air into the middle, and then the air goes through the cells and back all the way to the fan. If we then put the cells in this orientation, then we can't blow the air here anymore, so we would have to blow the air in the middle and make the air go that way, and then somehow go back to the inlet of the fan. So it's a lot more work, and we figured that for now we just make a replacement as quickly and simple as possible, and maybe in future we might consider putting bigger cells, but for now we'll probably do this. Yep.
Is that cradle strong enough to clamp them all together?
Yeah, that's the original one. So it does the exact same thing as before.
And this leaf is like...
Yeah, there is a metal part that goes on, I think on the sides, and there's another bit on the top.
Well, the other thing is potentially that these could go in an EV conversion, right? If you're making...
Yeah, the bricks, you mean?
Yeah, well...
Yeah, except that you would have to scrap an Outlander, isn't it?
There's a few around. So.
Yep.
What's the weight difference? Similar?
I think they're about the same. I didn't actually measure it. I think this might actually be a little bit lighter because the cells are smaller. But I don't think... Yeah, I mean, you've got 50% more capacity, even if it was the same weight, you're still better off. I haven't actually, in actual fact, I haven't checked them. Maybe I can weigh, I'll weigh the cells and see. But I would say just because of the physical volume, the new ones are going to be lighter.
But is this looking into the future a little bit about when they come out in 5 or 10 years with different chemistries, that the packs that we have at the moment will be doubled or tripled for the same volume, and we do something similar, where you've got pouch cells putting out 3 times what they're putting out now?
Yeah, well, if you look at the MiEV cells, you get a little bit over double the capacity of the original cells from 10 years ago, and they're coming up with new cells already that are double the capacity of what we already have. So sooner or later, those ones hopefully are going to be available to everybody, and then we'll be able to have upgrade cells with double the range. You know, like your Kona would do 1,000 Ks.
Yeah.
Problem is, all modern cars are built to last another 10
I think the cars are actually going to last a lot longer than people are expecting. Because
Not Ross's MG though.
no, he works really hard.
Are the cells the same chemistry as the old cells?
No, and the voltage profile is different. So I was actually doing a bit of work with one of Graeme's cars that has the original cells, and I found out that the original cells have a different voltage profile. So probably, it might need a bit different.
And the cooling, because the different chemistries have different thermal properties for charging.
Look,
You're asking the tough questions.
for something like an MiEV where the battery doesn't work so hard, I think it's not a big problem. For this one, it's the problem with these ones is the battery is quite small and the motors are quite big. So I think probably have to run one and see how long they last. Really.
Yeah, there'll be some testing going on.
Yeah,
Obviously.
my major concern really is that the batteries are really run very hard. You know, like on an MiEV, you might get 2 or 3 days out of one charge. On one of these, it'll be one cycle per day. And not only that, but this has got less capacity. So the cell, I think, is going to be about 18 kilowatt hours, and it draws the car draws about 60 kilowatts out of an 18 kilowatt hour battery, whereas an MiEV draws 50 kilowatts out of a 28 kilowatt hour pack. So these ones are work nearly twice as hard.
So will the stress relief from having a bigger pack overcome the thermal stuff? Or do you have to run it? Do you have to be very specific with the thermal stuff?
I mean, if you've got.
Or he's not getting as hot because it's bigger.
You'll only be pulling about 2.5 C instead of say 3 C, so it should be lower thermal, but charging.
It'd be more like 2C to 3C though, wouldn't it? If it's a 50% bigger.
Yeah, but these cars don't come with fast charging, so they can only charge at 3 kilowatt stops. So
They
charging
have charter mode.
not all of them. The earlier ones didn't have, I think.
Later ones.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do about the charter mode ones?
Well, we have to pull one apart, but I think
But once again,
newer,
the stress is less.
yeah, I think the newer ones also have bigger batteries. So then again, you know, if we pull it apart, we might find that the cells don't fit anymore because they're a different cell.
All right. Thank you very much, Francisco.
Okay.
Work in progress. Did you you happy not to say anything about the MG, or did you want to say anything about that? We can just talk over there. It was an unexpected arrival on the tonight anyway. So, Graeme, let's see us out.
See us out.
Yeah.
Where are we going? Hello, how's everybody? I just basically wanted to bring the little MiEV van in to show people. I don't know how many people are aware of these things. Together with Francisco, we worked out a way to upgrade these things, and now we're exporting the upgrades to Europe and New Zealand and all around Australia. This particular one was purchased rather cheaply because it would go about 5 kilometres and stop. So it desperately needed a new set of batteries. It was covered in, I don't know, what do you call it, like wrap. It was a tour van up in Mount Tambourine. Anyway, so we pulled all the wrap off. The paint was great. The rest of the car was great. Cleaned it all up. Put the Earthfood logos and stuff on it. Bronwyn uses it when she goes to like markets or fairs or some sort of show. On the other side, it's got one of those King's awnings. In the back, we put some straps there just to put the tables in for her little market stall. And then there's the cubes there, which is sort of like a little bit of an office. So if you can imagine, and we've set it up in the workshop. It took us 15 minutes to set up, another 15 minutes to pull down. And if you've ever done a market stall at one of these shows, you could spend like an hour and a half doing that. Anyway, so we pull out the King's awning. They're simple. A couple of tables strapped in, pull them out, throw them out on the thing. She's got little buckets there, so she gets them out, gets the tablecloths out. And we're pretty much set up. ready to put some product on the shelf, and she's right to go. So it's going to be a great little thing to have out in the public arena. People notice it. It's quite a noticeable vehicle. When you're driving through town, people point at you, I suppose, and I'm hoping they're pointing at the car, not at me. Yeah, and we promote the Oz Electric Vehicles, and we promote the Earth Food thing. The Earth Food, for people who don't know, is actually a living organism. It's what's meant to be in the soil. Sabron's little company, they ferment this stuff. You put it on your plants. I'm giving you a really short version of it. Puts more live microbes in the soil, and the plants grow much healthier. It's pretty much, she calls it rainforest in a bottle. That's because it's exactly the same sort of microbes you find in rainforests, which you don't have to fertilise, or you don't have to use pesticides on a rainforest. So works great. This is her little display van, and we also use it to show off what we do with EVs as well. Next meeting, I'll try to bring the Kona along. The meeting after that, the S800. So I'll have a couple of interesting conversions to bring to the club to show people. Anyway, that's about it from me. Any questions about repurposing the little vans?
I've seen one before. Are they common? I don't say common. Are they easy to get hold of in Australia?
Yeah, the Jap imports, they bring them in. There's, I think it's, what's the guy on the north side? It's Virginia. Japan Imports, he brings them in. Yeah, Chris, that's him, yeah. He brings in the Nissan Leafs as well. This one here gets about 240 k's on a charge nowadays. We've been all over southeast Queensland to shows and stuff with it. It's great. Load it up, off we go, do a show, you know. Yeah, well, that's been suggested if we had to sleep in it, but nah, I'm not going to sleep in a van.
Is there any difference between doing the MiEV pack and doing the pack for that?
They're exactly the same packs. The difference between the two is the MiEV's got fan cooling. These are blocked off, so there's no fan cooling to the battery pack. So when you're charging, you notice sometimes the DC fast chargers will go fast and they'll slow down because the battery's getting hot. So the BMS is controlling the charge rate, you know.
No way to put a fan in.
Sorry?
Is there any way to upgrade to a fan?
To a van?
A fan. Fan cooling.
I'm not really bothered because, you know what, it's quite practical the way it is. There doesn't seem to be any point. We can go and reinvent the wheel, and I don't know.
Asking for problems.
Yeah, I think so. You start messing with it too much and you get problems, sort of thing. This one's got the one pedal driving. The one pedal driving is great when it's working great. It's still not, I'm not quite 100% comfortable with it, so I'm not sort of rolling it out just yet. Francesca and I have knocked heads on it a few times and trying to nut this thing out and get the traction control right. And the problem is, in a big downpour, when you take your foot off the accelerator, the back wheels lock up, and then the ABS starts juddering, and it's just an unnerving feeling. If I can get it to work right, if he can get it to work right, we roll it out, you know. But anyway, so we've got it in that. We find if we, the way Francesca set it up was you have three positions. You have drive, eco, and then full brake, the B, which is heavy regen braking. So the heavy regen braking is now one pedal driving. The E is not too bad. It's almost one pedal driving, and the drive is as it was when it left the factory. So we now just drive it around in E. Perfectly happy with that, and that might be the settings that we might go with eventually, you know. But it's all a work in progress, and the thing is, when you set out kits like this, you've got to remember, if it goes horribly wrong and someone gets hurt, they're going to sue you. They're going to sue me, and I'm not interested in that. So we've just got to make sure it's safe before we roll that sort of thing out. Done a heap of sedans, done a heap of these vans. They've actually started building these again in Malaysia. I don't know if anyone knows, but they're running out the vans, and lo and behold, the same cells they used back in 2010. Uh-oh. Do they not notice? Anyway,
They should hit you up.
They should. So come and see me. I'll tell them how to build. We'll grab Francesco and me, and we'll go over there and show them how to build a proper EV.
What are you able to put a number on roughly how many MiEV and van packs you've replaced now?
I'm not, me personally, probably 25, 28. I think total about 40 have gone out. There's some in, I think 5 in Holland, 1 in New Zealand, and the rest around Australia, because I've got, I set up a licensed installer network. I can't fit them all. And you can go to Francesco's and get them fitted now, and there's a whole heap of places you can just go and get it fitted. So they just basically buy the gear off of us, and we teach them how to fit it and set it all up, and that's it. So if we're doing the Nissan Leaf shortly, I've got 2 Nissan Leaf kits coming. Francisco and I were developing one. We dropped it when we saw that this Chinese company was coming up with what they had. We jumped on a plane, went down and saw the Melbourne guy, and far from impressed with they try to sell it to us as a complete battery box, and it's just disgusting on the inside. The cells and everything else and the wiring looms are fine. It's just the Chinese installation leaves a lot to be desired. So I made the choice that we'll actually we'll get the cells and all the components over, and we'll fit them in the boxes ourselves here. As you know, we've all been sort of having a bit of a hash at this, the Outlander Pack 2. And then, so we're all sort of working along the same sort of theme at the moment, trying to upgrade the batteries in these older cars. If you had a look at that car, most people would think that's almost new. It's like over 10 years old now. Hey?
It's fabulous. I was just going to say, it's almost a little drive.
There you go, free ride. Can't go wrong. Yeah.
The most surprising thing I've found is I actually fit, because I'm sceptical when I see a Chinese and Japanese car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got in it, and I can sit in it and drive it. So I'm just going to say,
Quite deceptive. It's very deceptive. The
Yeah.
space. It's like the army, it's very deceptive. I've seen some very tall people getting into those quite comfortable.
There's actually a ute as well.
Yeah, I've had a look at the utes. They've got lithium titanate cells, which is problematic to upgrade. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. It makes no sense, but they've only got a 10 kilowatt pack, and they're lithium titanate, still 80 cells, I think, from memory, and because lithium titanate's a lower voltage, they come up to the same voltage, but then to replace them with something else is not practical, you know. I don't know what the solution is there. It's a bit of a shame, but anyway, like I said, Malaysia's making them again, same batteries they did 15 years ago, and that absolutely astounds me. Yeah. Any other questions?
Do you reckon they'll be able to be imported from Malaysia?
Oh,
do you think?
Not sure.
Like brand new.
Can't see why not. If Mitsubishi had a brain, they'd bring them in themselves. You know, but the trouble is you're going to get a 120k range van. I mean, who wants that nowadays? Yeah. You know, we're all spoiled now. If it hasn't got like 250, we don't want to know about it, you know. Yeah. And that's fair enough. I mean, this one here, we're going to, where are we going to for the other plant? Wondai, which is the other side of Kingaroy. Yeah, so we planned there's 2 fast chargers, one at Esk and one at Kingaroy. Yeah, so we're going to use those 2 chargers to get there and the same on the way back. And yeah, okay, it takes a little bit longer, but you know, like she's trying to sell a natural fertiliser that's all natural, and so the car's all natural. You know, powered by, you know, solar rays or whatever. I don't know, but anyway, so yeah, so that's why we did that. Any other questions? Let me go now. I can go back to my chair. Oh, look, one other thing. The little MiEV vans, the little MiEV sedans, the reason bigger people can fit in them, and a lot of people don't notice this, but the doors on the inside are sort of curved out a little bit, so they're a little bit thicker at the top and thinner at the bottom. So where the bulk of a person's body is this size, you know, and we're thinner towards the top, that's why they fit bigger people in it. It's a bit of a, yeah. So a lot of my large friends jump in our little MiEV sedan and they just can't believe how much room it's in it, you know. And when you look at the outside, they'll never fit, but they do. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much, Graeme, and we look forward to seeing the Toyota Corona. What year is it? 1968? 68 Corona. It was up at the Noosa AEVA show. It looked nice. Just to finish on, is everyone here going to the Cleveland show? Has everyone put in their registration?
Yes.
Or is it leaving it to the last minute type of thing?
When's the last minute?
Just whenever, the day before if you must, but it's on the 24th of September, so maybe that week before. All right, that's it, guys. We've got the AGM next month, so I don't know if there's going to be too many changes in that space, but we've got to put up with those shenanigans. But thank you very much.
With the show, will you send out like a little bit of a pack what to do when you get there, or
Yes. I just get everyone's rego and then I just blanket email. Like I've done it. This is the third one, so I've kind of just used what we've done last year. But essentially, just for you guys, if you want, you can. It's a 10 to 1, but we normally get in about 9. Have a quick photo of all the cars, and then you can sort of spread out and do whatever you want. But the other guys are setting up their stalls and that sort of thing. So if you have guys that own, people that own EVs, invite them along for me, and let's try and get more than we had the previous times. But I'll try and get the just out of interest, might try and get some of the new models that we don't see, like the B. Someone brought their BYD last year, and now BYDs are as common as anything. But literally, he got it the day before, and he turned up because he saw it on YouTube that we were having a show. So, yes, Gav.
Cans registered yet?
What's that?
Any take cans registered?
You and your take hands, mate. I'll try and get Gillian along, the guy that came to the Noosa show. You really want to go in one, don't you? Okay. I'll see if I can organise that for you, mate. All right. Thanks, guys.